My wife, Chloe, and our son, Sam, have been gone for 3 days. 3 days, 72 hours, 4,320 minutes. I've been counting the time like a madman, as if this precise tally could somehow fill the vast, terrifying void in my heart. That morning they left, the sky was a filthy grayish purple. Chloe woke up early, and I could hear her deliberately quiet movements in the kitchen, the soft closing of cabinet doors, the slow turn of the faucet on and off. I lay in bed like a zombie, eyes wide open, too scared to move. Naively, I thought she was preparing breakfast as usual. A while later, she brought out not my usual coffee and toast, but a plate of American-style scrambled eggs, 2 perfectly crispy strips of bacon, and a small fruit salad. Sam's favorite. "Eat it," she said, placing the plate on the dining table in front of me, her voice devoid of emotion, flat as a dead heart monitor. I looked up, studying her closely. Her eyes were red and swollen, bags visible beneath them, unmistakable traces of a night spent crying. Yet her expression was eerily calm, a calm more terrifying than any hysterical sobbing. It was like a lake frozen solid in the dead of winter, no ripples on the surface, but beneath the ice, a silent, all-consuming abyss. "I'm not hungry," I croaked, my throat feeling like it had been scraped with sandpaper, my voice rough and unfamiliar. In truth, my stomach was a black hole, gnawing at my insides with relentless spasms that made me nauseous. "Eat it," she repeated, placing the fork in my hand. The cold metal sent a shiver through me. "Eat this, and then I'm taking Sam and leaving." My hand trembled violently, and the silver fork slipped from my limp fingers, falling onto the carpet with a dull, almost inaudible thud. I didn't pick it up. We sat across from each other at our small IKEA dining table, silence pooling between us like thick, viscous liquid, filling every inch of space. The once steaming breakfast on the table grew cold, just like the love that had once burned brightly between us. 10 years ago, my life wasn't like this. 10 years ago, I, Adam, was an ordinary man working as a data analyst at a mid-sized logistics company. My life was like the spreadsheets I dealt with daily, neatly divided, orderly, predictable. Monday through Friday, I'd drive 40 minutes through congested city highways to a nondescript glass-walled office building, sit in my cubicle for 8 hours, and stare at scrolling numbers and charts on my screen, searching for patterns and anomalies to generate reports. It was a stable, respectable job, but utterly devoid of passion. I felt less like a person and more like a cog in a precision machine, performing the same function day after day, flawless, but never surprising. Yet I was content with that life. Because I had Chloe. I still remember the first time I saw her at a friend's barbecue. She wore a pale yellow sundress, laughing in the afternoon sunlight, and in that moment, every flower in the backyard seemed to lose its color. We fell in love quickly, our romance like something out of a cheesy rom-com, filled with cheap but genuine joy. On weekends, we'd drive my second-hand Honda Civic to state parks outside the city for hikes. We'd cuddle on our tiny apartment sofa under a shared blanket, binge-watching Netflix all night. Our biggest dream was to save enough money to open our own little coffee shop in the suburbs. Chloe had a knack for baking. Her brownies could make even the gloomiest person feel happy. Sam's birth brought the brightest light into our lives, and the heaviest pressure. He was so small, so soft, and when I held him for the first time, I barely dared to breathe. I swore to give him the best of everything. But the reality was, after paying rent, car loans, insurance, and bills, my salary left us with almost nothing. Our coffee shop dream grew more distant. The best of everything often meant discounted toys from the supermarket or kids' meals at fast food joints. The cracks began to show on Sam's 5th birthday. He'd become obsessed with Legos, especially the Star Wars sets. He pointed at a nearly $1,000 Death Star model in the toy store, his eyes sparkling with pure, untainted longing, a longing that stabbed straight into my pride as a father. I told him, "Sam, it's too big. We don't have space for it at home." He nodded sensibly, no tantrums, but the light in his eyes dimmed instantly, branding my heart like a hot iron. I started hating my own incompetence. I hated my dead-end salary, hated the version of myself trapped in that cubicle. My life felt like a pre-programmed conveyor belt, and I could already see myself 20 years from now, retiring as a mediocre, boring, unaccomplished man. That's when Ben, my office colleague, slithered into my life like a tempting devil. Ben was everything I wasn't: stylish, driving a BMW, wearing a watch that probably cost my annual salary. He was always bragging about his Vegas trips or how much he'd won betting on some game. During one lunch break, he pulled me into the break room, grinning slyly as he showed me a sports betting app on his phone. "Adam, man, stop living like an old geezer," he said, scrolling through a dizzying array of odds. "Check this out. Last night's NBA game. I put in $200 and walked away with $1,200. Beats slaving over your lousy data, right?" He pointed to an upcoming game. "Trust me, the away team's got this. Their star forward's on fire. Give it a shot, like buying a lottery ticket." I hesitated. My upbringing had drilled into me to stay grounded, to steer clear of gambling. But the Death Star model, Sam's yearning eyes, and Ben's casual swagger wound around my reason like three tight ropes. Just once, $50. If you lose, it's like buying me a coffee, Ben said, sliding his phone toward me. Something possessed me, and I nodded. I signed up for the app, linked my debit card, and with trembling fingers, placed $50 on the away team. Those were the longest 2 hours of my life. I sat at my desk, unable to focus, my soul drifting to that distant basketball court. When the final whistle blew, and a notification popped up on my app, my heart nearly leaped out of my throat. Congratulations! Your bet has won. $275 has been deposited into your account. In that moment, a surge of exhilaration, thrill, and immense accomplishment coursed through me. It wasn't just about turning $50 into $275. It was me, Adam, a mundane data analyst, outsmarting the system with my wit and courage, creating wealth out of thin air. After work, I drove straight to the toy store and swiped my card for the Death Star model. When I brought that massive box home and saw Sam scream with joy, wrapping his arms around my neck and kissing me, I felt like a true hero, a superhuman dad who could do anything. That feeling hooked me. I convinced myself I'd found a shortcut to a better life. I wasn't gambling, I was investing, using my analytical skills to make money. For the first few months, I felt like God had kissed me. I was cautious, betting only tens or hundreds of dollars. I spent hours researching team stats, player injuries, and past matchups, applying every ounce of my data analysis expertise. And my luck was uncanny. I won more than I lost, and my account balance grew steadily. My life changed visibly. I stopped stressing over bills. I even paid off a credit card early. I got generous, taking Chloe to that fancy downtown French restaurant she'd always wanted to try, but we'd deemed too expensive. When she hesitated over the menu's steep prices, I waved it off with a grin. Honey, order whatever you want. My treat today. Her surprised, touched look fed my ego like nothing else. I bought her a necklace she'd lingered over in a jewelry store window. When I handed her the elegant box, she gasped, "Adam, where'd you get the money for this?" Company gave me a project bonus. I lied smoothly, having rehearsed the line countless times. I nailed the data model, and the boss was thrilled. She hugged me, burying her face in my chest, her voice tinged with pride. "I knew you were the best." Her words thrilled me more than winning $1,000. I basked in the worship and happiness money could buy. I truly believed everything I was doing was for our family, for Chloe and Sam's better life. Gambling was just my tool to achieve that noble goal. My secret life began. My phone became my sanctuary, a portal to a thrilling alternate world. I'd set alarms to watch soccer matches on the other side of the globe because I'd bet on their outcomes. I'd sneak to the bathroom during family gatherings, nervously refreshing live data. I lived two lives. One as Adam, the good husband and father, the other as Gambler Adam, a master strategist winning big in a virtual arena. I even started relishing the thrill of this double life. It made me feel superior to my mundane colleagues, who celebrated measly raises while I could make their monthly salary in a single game. Back then, I never thought I'd lose. Losses were just temporary pullbacks. If I stayed cool and bet bigger, I'd always win it back, and more. That blind confidence was a fog, obscuring the path to the abyss ahead. The avalanche always starts with a single snowflake. Mine was a devastating loss in a college football game I thought was a sure thing. I bet every penny in my account, over $3,000, already planning a Hawaii vacation with Chloe and Sam. But a controversial last-second call flipped the game. I lost. My account balance hit zero. Staring at that glaring zero on my phone, my mind went blank. Seconds later, icy fear engulfed me like a tidal wave. I couldn't believe it, couldn't accept it. I replayed the game's final moments, cursing the refs in a rage. It wasn't my fault. They stole my money. Win it back. That thought sank its venomous fangs into my brain. I lost all reason. My only goal was to claw back that $3,000. For the first time, I dipped into the joint savings account Chloe and I had. It held over $20,000, our coffee shop fund, saved over years. I told myself I was just borrowing $5,000, that I'd win it back and replace it before Chloe noticed. I transferred the $5,000 to my betting account. To recover faster, I chased higher odds, live betting, exact scores. My bets grew reckless, emotional. Predictably, within a single night, the $5,000 vanished. Panic and despair seized me. Like a drowning man, I flailed for any lifeline. I transferred another $10,000 from our savings, convincing myself this was my last shot. $10,000 to chase 8, no problem. It was a hellish night. Locked in my study, eyes bloodshot, I watched my account swing like a roller coaster, my heart torn with every fluctuation. At one point, I nearly recouped it all, but greed stopped me from cashing out. I wanted more, to cover my losses and pain. When I finally stopped, dawn had broken. The 10,000 was gone. Our dream-filled savings account dwindled to a few $1,000s. I collapsed in my chair, the world's colors draining to grayscale. I hadn't just lost money. I'd lost Chloe's trust, our shared future. From that day, my humanity warped. I wasn't gambling for a better life anymore. I was gambling to fill the ever-widening hole I'd dug. My lies grew clumsier, more frequent. Chloe sensed something was wrong. She asked why I was up all night staring at my phone, swinging between ecstasy and despair. She asked why our savings account was gutted. I spun lie after lie. I said I'd invested in a friend's startup, promising dividends soon. I said I was stressed and watching games to unwind. Each lie killed a piece of my soul. Chloe stopped pressing. I don't know if she believed me, or just couldn't face the unthinkable truth. But an invisible wall grew between us. Her looks carried a new, unreadable worry and distance. Soon, I burned through the last of our savings. I turned to credit cards, 1, 2, 5. When their limits ran dry, I eyed online loans. Their ads were friendlier than any government website, promising easy cash, instant approval. They didn't ask what the money was for, or if I could repay it. They just opened the gates of hell, and politely closed the lid after I jumped in. My life spiraled out of control. Debt snowballed down the slope of desire, from tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands, then to an astronomical sum I couldn't bear to calculate. Collection calls became my life's relentless soundtrack, ringing 24 hours a day. Debt collectors hurled the vilest insults at me and my family, threatening to call my parents, my company, to ruin me. I lived in constant fear and anxiety. Insomnia hit hard. My hair fell out in clumps. I drifted through the office like a ghost, making frequent mistakes. During meetings, I'd jolt from my seat at a collector's call, earning bewildered stares from colleagues. Chloe found out, not because I confessed, but because she uncovered the truth. In the pocket of my discarded clothes, she found a harshly worded final notice from a collection agency. I'll never forget that afternoon. I came home to find Chloe on the couch, holding the crumpled letter. Spread before her were bank printouts of my credit card statements and loan records. The air was thick with the suffocating silence of an impending judgment. She didn't cry or interrogate me. She just looked up, her eyes those of a stranger, and asked calmly, "Adam, tell me, how much do we owe?" I couldn't answer. The number was a mountain crushing my tongue, silencing me. My silence was her answer. She stood, walked slowly to the bedroom, and closed the door. I heard her stifled, heartbroken sobs. In that moment, I knew I'd killed her love. From that day, our home was dead. We lived under the same roof, but as the most familiar of strangers. We stopped talking. Sam was our only fragile link. For his sake, Chloe held up the hollow shell of our family. But the final straw fell. One day, a collection call reached Chloe's phone. The caller spewed vile insults, tearing into her. When she hung up, her face was ashen. She looked at me, the last flicker of warmth in her eyes gone, replaced by cold ashes. "I'm done," she said. "I can't let Sam live in this fear. I can't let him have a gambling addict for a father." What followed was a chaotic nightmare. We discussed divorce details. She was resolute. She wanted nothing from me, only to take Sam and leave this hell I'd created. Then came that morning. She made one last breakfast for me and Sam. She packed 2 suitcases. At the door, Sam turned back, his small voice asking, "Daddy, aren't you coming with us?" My heart shattered. I crouched down, wanting to hug him, but my trembling hands betrayed me. What right did I have to hold him? I was the criminal who'd ruined his childhood, stolen his future. I could only watch as Chloe took Sam's hand and walked out. The door closed with a soft click, a sound that felt like the final verdict on my failed life. Now I sit in this empty apartment, back at the start of this story. 3 days without sleep, replaying the past 10 years, trying to pinpoint where I went wrong. Was it when I bought the Death Star? When I first lied to Chloe? Or when I touched our joint savings? Perhaps my tragedy was sealed the moment I believed there was a shortcut to a better life. The plate of eggs and bacon on the table is stone cold, a film of congealed grease like white wax over the food. I walk over, pick up the plate, grab the fork I'd dropped, and stab a chunk, shoving it into my mouth, chewing mechanically. The food is cold, hard, tasteless, like chewing wax. I eat and cry. Tears fall heavily into the plate, breaking apart the solidified yolk. I don't know why I'm crying. Maybe for the family I lost, maybe for the hopeful man I killed with my own hands. I know that once I finish this plate, I'll have to face the wreckage of my life. I didn't just lose $3 million. I lost Chloe's love, Sam's childhood, my parents' expectations, my dignity as a man, and my future. That $1 million debt will brand my forehead, haunting me for life. I don't know where my tomorrow is. Maybe I'll file for bankruptcy. Maybe I'll work multiple jobs, hauling cement on construction sites, washing dishes in restaurant kitchens, spending the rest of my life paying debts I'll never clear. I know it's hard, a road with no end in sight.